that sometimes the Lord likes to test our faith, to teach us patience, and to really make us pray? This is just what happened to me once.
Is he gonna kill himself?
Hey everyone.
Suicide, abuse, murder, and some more shit.
It's the winter of 1985. A family living in a remote region of the Philippines receives a package at their door, which contained a single VHS tape and a note stating that the contents were for the children of the house. And so the kids were gathered up one by one and sat in front of the television where the tape began to play, introducing them to a brand new show.
This is some fake shit, bro. Life with Grandpa?
Life with Grandpa.
This was the experience for hundreds of kids across the world, made to watch a seemingly harmless puppet show about a grandpa and his family, with most of the young viewers loving it, gladly watching this episode and the many others that would be sent later on, over and over again, blissfully unaware that what they were being shown would someday come to be known as one of the most disturbing rabbit holes in the history of children's media. This is the story of Life with Grandpa, the darkest kid show ever made.
Nothing can harm you when Jesus is near.
Dad, I don't want you to leave.
I persuade you to subscribe.
Before we dive any further down this rabbit hole, I want to first thank today's video sponsor, Saley. Throughout my life, I've taken countless trips to Canada as I live right by the border, and I'm so used to going there that at this point it doesn't even feel like I'm traveling to another country until I see the roaming charges on my phone bill. This has literally cost me hundreds of dollars over the
fellowship dedicated to sharing.
She loved to play on the steep hillside.
Life with Grandpa, won't you come along?
This is Life with Grandpa, a straight to VHS show made for children created sometime in the mid-80s. The program followed a family of humanoid puppets on their journey to teach the audience lessons loosely based on Christianity through the use of stories, skits, and songs, acting as a guide for children to live their best possible lives for Jesus.
We're continuing with some more lessons about prayer. Are you all ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lord. Such sweethearts.
The show was set up in an episodic fashion, never following any main overarching storyline, and instead, each installment would be composed of a series of short segments detailing past experiences from this family, with an occasional musical number thrown in here and there.
That nigga definitely do look like Saint Nick. Also, at what point did Saint Nicholas just decide, fuck this stupid saint shit, nigga, I'm gonna just start breaking into people's houses and giving them presents? And stealing their food. At what point did that saint nigga just decide to say, fuck it, bro, I'm done with this holy shit? When did that become a thing? When did the switch happen, bro?
Unsurprisingly, the main character of the crew was Grandpa, who acted as the show's host, often being the one to teach the episode's central messages not only to his on-screen family, but to all the kids watching at home.
But it's my kite.
But wouldn't you like to pray that some poor little boy who doesn't have so many toys and blessings as you do will find your kite?
Yes, Grandpa.
As he was made to be a wise, almost religious-like figure, whose words were never questioned. Often seen by his side was his wife, Mother Maria, though for as often as she's shown, she rarely has much to say.
Yes, thank the Lord for such a good, sweet boy.
Oh yeah, we know what type of time this shit is on. Yeah, women aren't allowed to speak, they're allowed to observe and obey. That's the type of shit this is on. I ain't gonna lie, mama, you better on my side, nigga. Come fuck with a real nigga. Leave that old fucking wrinkly dinkly piece of fucking bacon, nigga, and come hang with a real slanger. You know what I'm saying?
Chiming in when she's reiterating Grandpa's messages to the children. And of the children, there was Davida, Techi, and Davidito, with the latter being one of the show's central figures, landing right next to or potentially even ahead of Grandpa in terms of screen time, as Davidito often got his own segments and told his own stories directly to the audience.
Hello, children. Would you like to hear some exciting prayer adventures? This first story happened when I was very small.
And though it's never outright stated, it's clear that Davidito was put on a pedestal, with the child often getting special treatment and being showered in gifts, as the family clearly seemed to favor him.
Thank you, Uncle Al.
It's called a kite.
We want to give you a little surprise because you were such a good witness.
This brand new tape recorder is for you.
Thank you, Jesus.
With there never being an explanation as to why. This is the core group of Life with Grandpa, with the only other reoccurring characters being Aunt Sarah and Uncle Elf, a couple that was often shown around the house helping look after the kids. And despite this looking like something pulled straight from the depths of the uncanny valley, the content within the show didn't really seem all that troublesome. In fact, it appeared fairly normal, and not too unlike the many other low-budget religious shows of the time, highlighting themes like obedience.
Nothing short of right is right.
Yes, so the right thing is...
to obey.
Sharing.
Good morning, Davida. I have a surprise for you.
Oh, can I see it?
I would like to share my cars with you. Which ones do you like?
And loving everyone.
That's really sweet of you, David. Thank you for that nice, generous present.
What present?
That nice kiss. A kiss makes a real beautiful gift or a present.
Though mixed within these fairly standard teachings, you'll find other moments that are far more unusual.
Don't run down that gravel hill.
Oh, bro, I've seen that, bro. I can tell you easily what's AI and what's not type shit, bro. I got you, bro.
Davida!
I'm built different with
that.
Davida.
She's bleeding, and her cut is all covered with dirt.
And I don't even have a tissue to wipe it with. I'll just have to lick it clean and spit out the dirt.
What?
The show featured a lot of strange underlying themes that seemed to have nothing to do with religion, or at least not the conventional beliefs of Christianity, with one of the more
lick it clean and spit out the dirt. Why do I feel like I've heard some shit like that before?
being its unprompted disdain for doctors.
We'll have to really pray that there won't be a scar.
Soon afterwards, there was no sign at all of the deep gash on Davida's forehead. Surely a doctor would have stitched it, but our God is still a God of miracles. Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
as well as its constant endorsement of spanking.
No.
Jesus spanks us because he loves us and wants us to obey and be good.
This can't be real.
We're really sorry. So if the Lord should spank you a little bit or correct you, it's for your own good. It's because he loves you and wants you
Also,
to...
this little nigga guy be... I'm not gonna lie. Everybody looks calm in my opinion. This little nigga is demonic. This dude is Satan incarnate. Like, look at his face, bro. This nigga is soulless behind that fucking creepy-ass teethless smile. Everybody else looks fine. This nigga is just... I don't know what it is. It's just something about his face is really crazy to me,
and
bro.
obey.
And while these are certainly strange, by far the most glaring indication that Life with Grandpa wasn't just your typical kid show came from the program's stance on women, with the first major example coming from a song made for the young girls watching on.
I knew it.
So do the dishes and clean the floor, and God can show us something more. I'm ready for any job at all, whether it's great or whether it's small. I'm ready to go, ready to stay, ready my place to fill. Ready for service, slowly or great, ready to do God's will.
The message behind the song is clear. If you're a woman, then it's your job to cook, clean, and have babies. And that's about it, as this is God's will and your sole purpose for existing. And while this ideology was certainly not as controversial at the time, the show took it even further, as it hammered home this idea to all the children watching on by repeating one line at the end over and over again.
Trust and obey, for there's no other way. Trust and obey, for there's no other way. Trust and obey, for there's no other way.
Making it clear that this was a lesson that the showrunners didn't want these kids to question. But as comically offensive as the song is, it was far from the worst that the show had to offer.
I knew they were gonna be on some bullshit with women, bro. Oh my god, is that Bill Nye?
In another episode, we're shown a musical number about Grandpa, who's portrayed as a scientist that's always busy working. Though the song is really less about
The
him,
average
and
message
more about
in the
his love
80s, not
interest.
gonna lie, no, 100%. 1,000%.
Cause he's in love with a robot.
Come on.
Watch her pick and spin. Ooh, yeah.
A robot, with long hair and nude female breasts. It's one of the most surreal things that I've ever seen on a kid show, as this thing was clearly meant to be a portrayal of Grandpa's wife and women in general, likening them to robots. Though unlike the previous demeaning song, this number is blatantly perverted, as it not only shows the robot having breasts, but it also shows Grandpa fondling them as well. And these perversions weren't even exclusive to its imagery.
Is this real? Like, fucking filthy number crushing wire back piece of shit, nigga! I mean, Clanker! Fuck. Clanker, bro. Chat. I'm not gonna lie, bro. We gotta stop, bro. We gotta stop with this agenda shit that we got going on with these fucking robots and stuff, bro. There's nothing, no robot will ever be able to beat what God. Well, let me not bring God into this before I start sounding like a fucking nut job. But what flesh and blood, you know, has brought to the table. Y'all ever seen that clip of that dude making out with like a robot in like some country? It was like a dude like kissed a robot and shit, and it was like mad kind of realistic. I'm not gonna cap, but like, bro, my whole thing is like. Honestly, at that point, I'm not even, like, mad at it, but it's, like, in the same regard, it's, like, I don't know, that's just kind of sad. Santa, please don't grow up my mom. Bro, that's not your mother. Stupid wireback, scrapbucker, clacker.
It's shocking for so many reasons, but mainly due to the fact that this was on a show that was literally made for toddlers and young children, who are now being shown this clearly explicit content. And most disturbing of all is the realization that this sexualized material was actually nothing new to the world of Life with Grandpa.
That's what I'm saying,
there was a
bro.
little
Like,
illustrated book series called
Mommy Gotta
Love
Come
Grandpa,
Home with K&G.
with the show practically being a shot-for-shot remake of
needs
this
to be
book
a part of
series,
this.
featuring the same exact characters and stories. And much like the show, the series was also a religious guide created for children. In its pages, you'll find themes about morality and lessons made to guide you towards a proper way of living through this religion. But these books also had a very apparent dark side, one far worse than the show it inspired. In the chapter Real Fathers, we're shown a scene where Techi and Davidito question why they have two different skin colors, despite them being siblings, as Techi noticed that Davidito's skin appeared light brown, while hers was almost pure white, to which Grandpa then explains to them how his wife and their mother had slept with other men. See, God used Timothy and Carlos only to fuck Mama so that I could have you both. They were just like an instrument or tool that Jesus used to help create.
Is this real? Like,
praise the Lord. This was followed by an in-depth explanation of
that
what that scene looked
robot,
like, including images depicting the
yeah,
act.
Envy, we got.
Examples like this are
Yeah,
prevalent all
do
throughout the pages
better.
of Life with Grandpa, with erotic material.
Nigga, was that the kid? What the fuck? I didn't even see this. Right, a penis. I mean,
Examples like this are prevalent all throughout the
But is that not the daughter?
pages of Life with
Is
Grandpa,
that not
with
the
erotic
daughter? Or am
material
I
being shown
bugging?
constantly with no regard as to how
Look what up. What am I looking up? I don't know what this shit is called. I don't know what the fuck this shit is. You know what I'm saying?
This is to be showing kids.
I've never met a girl with so much love as you. You're so different from the others. I feel like this is just made by some fucking degen. This nigga, this is just a show made by a fucking God-fearing Republican degen, like incel or some shit. Like a red-pilled, or not red-pilled. What is it called? What is this shit called, nigga? Is it red-pilled? The niggas who are like, women should be this, that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's bro. I heard some other pill shit. I'm like mixing up the two. But this is just some like incel red pill like Republican, nigga. Like what?
Begs the obvious question. Why?
Or not Republican,
Why was Life with Grandpa
like,
so blatantly
I don't know,
perverted?
like
Well, the answer lies with the
conservative,
author of the
I should
books,
say.
and the
My
reason for the
fault,
show's
not Republican.
existence.
Just conservative, though.
David Byrne.
He shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect. That's when Jesus is going to come back, to rapture his saints, to gather them together.
That is not George Lucas.
Born in 1919, David grew up a devout believer in Christianity, but wanted something more from the religion. He dreamed of one day starting his own group with his own teachings.
Raptor,
And in 1968, at the ripe age of...
Ariel came to you and asked to mate, would you? Who the fuck is Ariel? Like the mermaid? Are we talking about them? Why are we talking about mermaids? Asked to mate.
50, he decided it was time to do just that. The group began in Huntington Beach, California, and went by many names over the years, like Teens for Christ, the Children of God, the Family of
Damn,
Love,
Envy,
the
this
Family
is where you
International,
be
or
staying
just the
at,
Family.
right?
But regardless of its name,
This
there
you
was no
right
denying
here?
what this group was. A cult.
This is your cult?
A cult led by David Berg. Berg would find young hippies
Cults
and those
are
struggling
mad
with
weird,
drug addiction
bro.
and mental health issues, and convince them to join his group by stating that the end of the world was coming soon, and that they needed to follow in
We
his path.
heard about this! Yo! Chat! We heard about this! We heard about this! Chat, do y'all remember we watched a video like, oh my god, I think it was dude, we haven't watched that in a minute, but he did cartoons talking about like the world's craziest cults, bro. I don't remember that YouTube channel, bro, but we reacted to this. Is on YouTube, nigga. We heard about this cult.
And join his family to save their souls. It was pretty standard cult ideology, but at the time it was extremely effective, with the sect amassing a staggering 10,000 members at its peak. And at first, David got by with fairly standard teachings from
Didn't
the
they
Bible,
all kill
although this
themselves
wouldn't
at the
last.
end or some shit?
After some time, Berg began addressing his followers via frequent illustrated messages called Mo letters that featured his ramblings and teachings from the time, with Berg slowly ingraining into his members that the contents of
Did I just
illustrated
say
messages called
molesters?
Mo letters that featured his
The basic mo letters.
ramblings and teachings from the time, with Berg slowly ingraining into his members that the contents of these letters should be taken as
Inside a
seriously,
cave?
if not more so.
Yeah,
than
yeah.
the
I don't know if
One of
that's
these letters
this
sent out
one
in
per se,
1972,
but like,
Berg claimed that God
but
was
like
going to
that
destroy the
video,
United
yeah.
States, and that the
I
group needed to
saw
flee the
him.
country immediately, with Berg demanding that his followers spread out all across the globe and open up communal homes where members could live as one, far away from the public eye. As a result, many members packed up their things and left right away, leading to roughly 130 communities being established across 70
That's
different
so
countries,
crazy.
essentially overnight. This mass migration had an extremely significant impact on the family, as it left practically the entire group outside of the United States, and more importantly, outside of the United States jurisdiction, meaning that Berg can now get away with far more than he used to. And unsurprisingly, this is where he began to tighten his control. The full-time members were made to give up all of their earthly possessions to the group and cease all contact with their family and friends who were non-believers, cutting them off from the outside world completely. And these restrictions also applied to the media they consumed.
I decided I would limit how much I would watch the TV. Because now I've got the answer. It's the slave master. It no longer has a spell on me.
In his teachings,
Nigga,
Berg
how you
denounced all
gonna
forms
show
of
me a commercial about getting off the TV? How the fuck does that make sense? That
entertainment
gotta be the
outside
most
cult,
like
since he believed that this
contradictory
would
shit
poison the
I've
minds
ever
of his
seen.
members and potentially sway them into leaving the group. And so instead, he insisted that his followers only consume media that was produced directly by the family, with his works often being created by Berg himself or the other followers he enlisted, and then shipped directly to the members' homes, leading to hundreds if not thousands of videos, movies, and TV shows being produced and shared among the family. But for Berg, this wasn't just about providing entertainment. It was really all about controlling the minds of his group, and even more importantly, indoctrination, with his primary targets being children. From birth, most kids were not shown any media other than what the cults gave their parents, with these works quite literally shaping their minds into following everything that the cult believed in without question. The main themes of these were usually things like always be happy,
More than 70 little muscles form a frowny face.
But only 14 muscles put a smile in its place on your face.
always show love, and never, under
Who
any
funded this
circumstances,
shit?
question your parents.
Always best to do it 'cause Daddy said so. Do it 'cause Daddy said so. Do it 'cause Daddy said so. Trust, obey, and do it 'cause Daddy said so. Do it 'cause Daddy said so. 'Cause Daddy knows best.
And Life with Grandpa was no exception, as it too was created by the family in order to instill their beliefs into its child viewers, with the line trust and obey being hammered home time and time again, as those creating the programs didn't want their kids questioning any of the practices, and so they were teaching them to simply smile along and trust the adults. But because the group was the one producing and distributing the content, they basically had no regulations placed on them, meaning that they could include whatever they want in these shows without any repercussions, leading to many of the showrunners exploring some of the group's more controversial beliefs, which becomes extremely troublesome when you realize that the family wasn't just your standard cult, and instead, it was a sex cult.
Yes, chat. We literally heard about this shit.
What are you thinking about? You think about a beautiful naked man and a beautiful naked woman. And what is the first thing that a beautiful naked man and a beautiful naked woman would, of course, naturally do as soon as they saw each other and nobody else around? I think just one look was all it took.
David Berg was a deeply perverted man. The idea of sex consumed him and seeped its way into essentially all of his teachings.
Well, I knew it, but like, what I mean by that is like, you know, this nigga's an incel. This nigga just some degen who got a bunch of drug addicts to, I guess, you know, lose their addiction through faith and has now had so much power he's just using it to fucking fornicate with motherfuckers.
Adam and Eve are over there behind those bushes right now, busy making, not pina colada, I think they're making some other kind of juices.
And once his followers were outside of the US, he began to preach something he called the law of love, which essentially said that the family should be showing all people love, and that love should come in the form of sex.
I practice what I preach, and I preach sex, boys and girls, hallelujah!
And so he told his followers to open up their relationships to outsiders, calling the practice sharing, as they were made to share your partner in the hopes of enticing new people to join the group. But he wasn't satisfied with just this, and instead he began to mandate that the women of the group participate in something he called flirty fishing. Also known as FF, flirty fishing describes the practice of women going into bars at night in order to pick up lonely men, who they would then entertain for the night. The goal of this was to convince these men to join the family, though more realistically the goal was also to make money, as they were made to charge for their services, with the women being told to seek lonely businessmen. And this is something that Berg not only pushed heavily, but outright mandated, insisting that every woman in the group do this or face being removed from the family, even those who were married. And Berg was so serious about this that he sent every colony report forms so that they could report how much flirty fishing was being done, in order to check their statistics and make sure that they were up to par. Understandably, many women of the group were concerned by this and wanted nothing to do with it. However, most of them had moved all the way across the world and sacrificed all of their belongings to be in this group, meaning that their removal would leave them with nothing. They were trapped. Simply put, Berg was forcing the women of the group into prostitution, and he was shameless about it too, calling them God's whores and Christ's hookers. The worst of all, Berg knew that flirty fishing could put these women in grave danger, as he admitted to them that violent assaults were going to
there's no way they just compared that
the worst
shit
of all,
to like
Berg knew that flirty fishing
the crucifixion, bro. This is
could put these women in grave danger, as he admitted to them that violent assaults were going to happen, but he said that if you want to live...
Wait, what? Nah, nigga, what? Bro, so if you've already got a reputation of being quite free with your sex, you might as well expect to get, you know, raped once in a while. Like...
Simply don't resist. And if you do get hurt or even killed, that's entirely your fault, as after all, it was God's will. And this was on top of a myriad of other horrific things that Berg said that I can't even repeat here.
This nigga is just a red-pilled ass...
The man saying all of these horrific things was the same man who wrote Life with Grandpa, and he used this medium to normalize his sex cult beliefs for the children watching, which gives more context as to why women were portrayed in the way they were in these books and the show, as Life with Grandpa was breaking down the young girls watching and grooming them for a life of prostitution that they were made to accept without question.
Trust and obey, for there's no other way. Trust and obey.
Though the show wasn't only for preparing the kids for the perverse lifestyles they were headed for, and instead, they were already becoming well accustomed to it. Throughout his Mo letters, Berg also began to preach that children should be involved in these affairs and sharing as well, stating that he believed age...
I was praying they wouldn't go to that extent. No way we're moving on to pedophilia, right?
Nothing to do with it. In fact, he believed that children should be taught about this lifestyle essentially as soon as they're born. And although, again, I can't read his exact words on this, Berg had declared open season on pedophilia, and much like flirty fishing, it was mandatory. The abuse that followed is unimaginable, at a scale far too large to fully know to this day. Abuse that the parents of the children not only allowed, but often participated in, with one of the more notorious large-scale accounts coming from something that the group called the Love Video. This movie was a result of Berg sending out requests to all of the parents to send him lewd videos of their children dancing, which he not only took for himself, but packaged together into a long-form compilation video that was then distributed to all of the cult's members, encouraging the others to film similar content, with Berg going as far as creating a guide to help create the perfect video. And not only did many parents go along with this, but many clearly enjoyed it.
Kia shared with us the video that just came from World Services, and it was so inspiring, it was so beautiful. The Love Video.
And for this couple specifically, this wasn't the only order that they were happily following.
And it was really a blessing too for Joe and Hobo, because they had a good chance to share also with Sally. Amen. And so the Lord's really setting us freer and freer to obey.
Nah, don't bring God into this one, nigga. Do not bring God into this one. This is not his doing, nigga. This is y'all fucked up niggas, bro. Niggas always want to be the Lord. The Lord said, you know, I mean, the Lord is, you know, it's a very happy day for the Lord. Nigga, God is not smiling at y'all niggas. God is sitting there. God is sitting there looking at his shit like, dead ass disgusted. That nigga contemplating a whole nother flood. He contemplating fucking a whole nother Sodom and Gomorrah situation. That nigga trying to wipe us out. There's no damn way, bro. There's no way.
Be free and to show that.
I don't even think the devil's happy for that. Oh God, that nigga said, bro, I know I'm a wicked motherfucker, bro, but I don't get down like this. Like, goddamn.
To the world.
Nigga said, I'm fucking evil, not a monster. Like, holy shit.
Life with Grandpa was literally created to indoctrinate kids into a pedophilic sex cult, and it makes you realize why exactly it and so many other of the cult's programs were hammering home this point of not questioning your parents or any adults, and to simply obey and smile.
I was thinking at first, just from the cartoon show, I was like, this might be fake, you know what I mean? Because of how weird it was. But, nigga, then they started talking about the cult, and I swear to God, we've heard about this cult before in another video, just, like, summarized, because it was, like, a compilation type thing, just about weird cults in the world. But, like, nigga, so this shit was real, bro.
To obey.
Because the adults in their lives were now suddenly doing unimaginable things to them, and they were being groomed not to question it, making some of the show's segments horrendous in hindsight.
God.
One very special way you can show the big people
And that's why the woman don't...
you love them is by giving them lots of hugs, kisses, and cuddles. Oh. A child's love and affection really encourages and inspires the big people.
It was normalizing their abuse, and because of this, many children never questioned the horrible assaults that they endured.
Save these
Assaults that were all
children,
fueled
JB,
and pushed
they're
by David Berg's sick
gone. They're
perversions.
already done for. This was in the 80s.
Able to have children by about
They're already, their minds are
12 years
screwed.
age.
There's no way. No saving them.
Educate child in sex. Yes.
Which were far from theoretical, as Berg himself allegedly partook in this practice repeatedly with his own children and stepchildren, as incest was also a key point of his teachings, and his adult followers rarely dared to question this, as those who refused to partake in Berg's latest teachings were again at risk of removal from the group, which is even more devastating for those who had children, as much like all of their possessions, their kids were pledged and belonged to the family, and the kids themselves couldn't seek help either, as those that refused to trust and obey were sent away to actual prison camps owned by the cult, until they were basically reprogrammed.
They made camps. I was sent with my brother to the Philippines. We had armed guards from the Filipino military keeping us in. They would publicly beat you if you asked to leave.
Nigga, what kind of pull did this... Bro, no, dead ass though, what kind of pull does this dude have? Where did he get the guapo for all this? So he got 10,000 niggas at a point. Then somehow distributed them across the globe. And had niggas with like how did he get firearms, some more shit? Niggas was really moving diffy. Who is this nigga? How is this possible?
And get you to confess.
And the group continuously got away with this too, thanks in large part to Berg's orchestration of the group leaving the United States, which looking back was almost certainly done on purpose. Plus, many members were actually living in hiding. In fact, all of the members were made to change their names upon joining the group, and most were told to never give out their last names, meaning that if any child wanted to report that it happened to them, they would be unable to provide even the names of their abusers. And this included Berg too, who at this point lived most of his life in hiding, going by numerous aliases to avoid detection. Aliases like King, Moses, Mo, Dad, and eventually...
Grandpa?
Grandpa.
Oh, that's scary. That's some creepy shit. That's some creepy shit. That's some weird nigga shit.
The entire show was about him, David Berg, which is why he was shown as a wise,
unquestioned
religious-like figure who the children were made to look up to. And that wasn't all, as the characters shown alongside Berg were also members of his real-life family that lived with him in a remote commune. Mother Maria was the nickname of Karen Zerby, David's wife who helped him run the...
I don't know who made these puppets, but damn, these niggas did a great ass job. These motherfuckers are spot on.
Members of his real life family
that lived with him. Tier above the death sentence where it's just torture until they die of old age. That's real as fuck. That's some real as fuck shit.
And that wasn't all, as the characters shown alongside Berg were also members of his real life family that lived with him in a remote commune. Mother Maria was the nickname of Karen Zerby, David's wife who helped him run the cult and facilitate this era of hypersexualization. While Aunt Sarah was based on Sarah Kelly, the woman in charge of running the prison camp made to punish the kids who dared question the family's beliefs.
Sarah Kelly, who was responsible for me being held against my will in the Philippines.
But the most grotesque detail to come from the revelation of who these characters are...
Sarah Kelly, never trust anybody with two first names, I swear to God, bro. Swear to God, bro.
Was that it showcased David Berg's polygamy, as he was actually married to many people in the real world, and two characters on the show itself, Mother Maria and...
Aunt?
Davida, his then 5-year-old stepdaughter.
Oh, I was gonna say, because I swear... Damn. Why is his family so fine? My fault. But I was gonna say, bro, like, no bullshit, I was dead gonna say, like, remember when we were watching this shit, there was a point where, like, they showed Davida with her, like, titties out. And I was like, ain't that his daughter? Like, they showing freaked out shit with their kids. Wait, you know what I'm talking about? Bro.
And Davida, his then 5-year-old stepdaughter. Davida would eventually go on to tell her story, stating that she had been Berg's child bride.
And there was a ceremony with the ring and everything, and once I turned 5 years old was when I was implicated into being one of his queens, so to speak.
Along with allegations that she had been victimized by him countless times. And she wasn't the only victim of Berg's perversions. Techi was often sexualized by Berg publicly, with Berg having stories made and illustrated depicting his fantasies about her when she was just a child. On top of this, numerous people within the group also claimed that she had been outright assaulted by the hands of Berg, as well as many others in the group.
Wait,
and
who is Berg?
Claimed that stories made and illustrated depicting his fantasies about her when she was just a child. On top of this, numerous people within the group also claimed that she had been outright assaulted by the hands of Berg, as well as many others in the group.
And look at our pretty girls today. You're dressed in such nice dresses and your hair looks so nice. Yes, you look so pretty for all the children that are watching today.
The context of who these characters are makes this already disturbing show that much more sickening. But of all of the horrible stories to come from the real-life characters of Life with Grandpa, there's one that is far and away the most horrific. The story of Davidito.
Yeah, tell me about
David
this.
is such a handsome boy, isn't he, girls? Would you like for David to share some more lessons?
Yes, Grandpa.
Are you all ready? Oh, baby.
What did they do to my nigga Davidito? Oh yeah, GG to Davidito. GG to Davidito, bro. GG. GG, bro. Look at this picture. Nigga, this guy literally looks like a fucking freak. Like, this nigga dead ass looks like a literal, like, I don't even know, like, how to explain it. This nigga genuinely gives off, like, fucking, like, creepy, old, pedophile ass nigga. I don't even know. This nigga's terrifying to look at in the face.
His real name was Ricky Rodriguez, and as a baby, he was taken in as Berg's son, following Maria conceiving him with a man after a night of flirty fishing. And being David's first son, he was given the nickname Davidito.
That's why they're talking about why his skin's browner.
Following Maria conceiving him with a man after a night of flirty fishing. And being David's first son, he was given the nickname Davidito. As for David Berg, he viewed this child as essentially a messiah. He began telling his followers that Davidito would one day save them from the apocalypse, causing Davidito to become a celebrity within the group, and worshipped as a religious figure when he was just a baby. Which explains why he was given so much airtime during Life with Grandpa, and why he was constantly being showered with gifts.
We want to give you a little surprise because you were such a good witness.
And for David and Karen, they wanted Davidito's life and childhood to be a guide for all members of the group, as they raised him in what they believed to be the perfect manner for a godly household. And so the couple and several other contributors documented the way he was raised, with daily journal entries that were published as weekly newsletters, and eventually turned into one massive book, titled The Story of Davidito. And the family truly believed that this over 700-page book was the ultimate guide for parenting, and showed the only proper way to raise a child, though what it actually showed was just how badly Davidito was being abused. Davidito was described laying next to his nude nannies, witnessing orgies involving his own mother, and being touched sexually by the adults around him, with these examples being presented through not only written stories, but actual photographs, with the adults involved having their faces removed and drawings placed over the top of them in order to hide their identities. The book was not only promoting sexual acts with children, but it was outright showing it, and showing it happen to Davidito. And because of this, we have a daily journal entry of all the—
Dude, these artists are cooking, bro. Like, no weird shit, but these artists are going stupid, bro. Like god damn, bro. Niggas really got all the talent in the world, and they choose to do this shit, bro. R.I.P. my nigga Davidito, bro. That's
acts with children, but it was outright showing it, and showing it happen to Davidito. And because of this, we have a daily journal entry of all the abuse that this child suffered, starting when he was an infant. Despite all the heinous acts that had been going on within the family, they had up until this point gone virtually unchecked by the public eye. But the story of Davidito would prove to be the first domino to fall, as the book leaked to the press.
Yeah, I was about to say, bro, that's it. Like, how many hundred pages of this?
This immediately became a news story all across the world, and it began shining a light on the family and its twisted beliefs. But despite all the constant news coverage, and the story of Davidito being tangible proof of the cult's horrible practices, there was still essentially nothing done to stop them, as very few arrests were ever made as a result, and even fewer resulted in convictions. So nothing was ever done to help Davidito. And so during his entire childhood and his early adult years, he stayed with the group. Though the older he got, the more he began to see the family for what they really were, and the constant pain that he was experiencing eventually made him want to just run away from it all. And so, in 1999, that's exactly what he did, fleeing to the United States in the hopes of starting a new life. Though this was easier said than done, and no amount of distance was enough to keep him away from his tortured past.
Nigga, that's so fucking crazy, dude.
I'm in the United States.
Imagine, dude, imagine being born as like a messiah to a like a fucking pedophilic sex cult. Think of just that sentence alone. Imagine being born as the messiah of a pedophilic sex cult. You're GG, nigga. You're the shit he was probably subjected to from conception was insane work, bro.
So he opened up about the struggles he was experiencing on a website made for survivors of the family. And there, he documented just how bad things really were for him and several others behind the scenes, living with Berg, appropriately titling the post, Life with Grandpa. It was apparent that he was haunted by this life that he tried to escape, as the trauma was an everyday cycle of hell, and he just couldn't take it anymore.
You know that sometimes the Lord likes to test our faith, to teach us patience, and to really make us pray? This is just what happened to me once.
Is he gonna kill himself?
Hey everyone. I want people to know that even though some of the things that I'm gonna try to do are rather shocking and maybe not right in a lot of people's books, I want to explain some of the reasons behind it.
On January 7th, 2005, Ricky Rodriguez set up a video camera in his apartment and expressed his desire to kill his mother and other leaders of the group for all the dreadful things that they had done not only to him, but to all the other children, with his hope being that this would finally bring down the family once and for all.
My goal is to get those sick bucks Vaughn and Peter, and, then I can go to the next life knowing that,
you know that I made a difference.
with Ricky going as far as to show off the various ways that he planned on torturing them.
I'm gonna have to make do. I got my drill here. Got lots of fucking duct tape.
God knows, he hears, he cares. He loves his girls and boys. He gives his very best to those who let him choose the toys.
By this point, David Burke had been dead for years, though the family carried on with his mother, Karen Zerby, assuming full control, which explains why she was the primary target. And much like Burke, Karen spent most of her life in hiding, with Ricky being unable to track her down, though he was able to find Angela Smith, one of the nannies responsible for raising him, as well as one of his most prominent abusers, as she was even shown in the story of Davidito assaulting him. At this point, Ricky was exhausted, and Angela was his last shot at getting intel to help him find his mother, and finally carry through on his plans. And so, he invited
Please
her
tell
over
me
to
this
dinner.
nigga's on John Wick timing. I know this is crazy, but please tell me this nigga's on John Wick timing and he dead ass hunted them down. Krashenko, Steiner, you know, kill them all, my son. David! Kill them all, Davito. Like, come on, bro.
I went home that night and tried to wait patiently for the next day. But the Lord still had more lessons that he wanted to teach me.
Oh,
this is what happened.
Before Ricky could even get the information he was looking for, something in him snapped, and midway through their conversation, Ricky grabbed a knife and stabbed Karen in the arm, and then slit her throat. He fled the area that night, driving for hours until he reached California, the place that years before David Burke had started the family. There, he called his ex-wife, professing to everything he did, saying that he did it mainly for his sister Techi, but he felt no better. In fact, he felt worse. And even looking back at the video, it's very obvious that this was something that Ricky didn't truly want to do, and instead, he felt like he had to do it, to avenge everyone that the family had hurt.
I'm not trained. I don't know how to fucking do this. I don't want to fucking do this.
And it was too late
That's
to take back what he did,
sad,
and so he
bro.
stopped the car in a dark parking lot, sat there for a moment,
Sad.
thinking about everything that had happened during his painful life, and ended his suffering once and for all.
Dude, this is
That's what these fuckers have done to
ridiculous.
us. You know, didn't actually, grab a knife and cut us up, but man, they sure fucked up our brains. That's the way it was at Grandpa and Mama's house. Literally or figuratively, they're going down. So,
This
with that happy
is-
thought, I shall leave you.
Damn, bro.
Ricky Rodriguez's death was devastating for the community of survivors of the family, and it caused shockwaves all throughout the family itself, as his final video was plastered all over the news. And though it didn't happen in the way he expected it or wanted it to, Ricky's life and death undoubtedly contributed to the decline of the family, and helped diminish the cycle of abuse within the group. Starting from the story of Davidito, the public pressure forced Burke to outlaw the widespread abuse that he once preached. And though it is believed that it never really came to an end, it was at the very least significantly reduced. And by the time the news began to cover Ricky's death, it proved to be the final wake-up call for many still within the group, as they finally began to see through the facade that had once controlled their lives.
Like Grandpa says, prayer is powerful. When we pray, things will happen and things will be different.
It's difficult to watch any of Life with Grandpa, knowing its history, its purpose, and the real people that it was inspired by. Though as soon as the media began taking notice of the cult, many members were made to purge the media that was sent to them that may be considered incriminating. And as a result, it appears that most of Life with Grandpa is missing to this day, and potentially destroyed forever. Currently, only 4 episodes have been recovered, and it's not even known how many more were released, or even what year the show started or ended. But considering how closely the show mirrored the book, it's possible that these potentially missing and destroyed episodes are much worse than the ones we have today. But despite not knowing the full extent of the show, it's clear that Life with Grandpa and the countless other programs that the family made did exactly what they wanted them to. They brainwashed an entire generation of the cult's children, and the effects were devastating.
But they become extremely agitated when we ask them about Moses David Burke's teachings on sex. My Little Fish. Now, your father described that as a routine publication.
They're not having sex, they're just kissing and hugging in bed. That's not sex. If you show it to other people, they don't understand. That stuff's not supposed to be publicized. So many people think sex is wrong. So many people hate us. But we're just telling them the truth. We're just telling them it's not wrong. We're just telling them that there's nothing wrong with it. And here come these publicizers doing them to everybody.
Between the strange content from the program itself, its obvious attempts at indoctrinating kids into a cult that was only ever going to harm them, the real-life people behind the characters, and the fact that this propaganda was so effective, I have no doubt that Life with Grandpa is the darkest children's show that I've ever come across. Though, shockingly, there's somehow one more layer to the story that makes this program even more
What? Peter.
And now, here's the exciting ending to this story.
One thing that we haven't discussed yet is who was actually the one behind the creation of the show. There's no doubt that it's David Burke's stories and was probably done at his request, but who was the one actually making it? Well, unfortunately, most of the people who worked on the show have their identities hidden by only using their first names, or even using straight-up aliases, so I could hardly find any information on any of them, with the exception of one. Peter Puppet. Peter Puppet was sort of a celebrity within the group, being responsible for numerous puppet shows, including one called The Lovettes, which was actually far more popular than Life with Grandpa, and was even supposedly broadcast on TV in the Philippines, with the show being a disturbing rabbit hole in its own right.
Would you like to hear a story? Well, then let's go see Grandpa in the garden.
Hello, children. So nice of you to visit us in the garden today.
But Peter Puppet owned this group and was in charge of the Lovettes team, and coincidentally, the Lovettes just so happened to be credited as the producers of Life with Grandpa. So Peter Puppet was, at the very least, one of the contributing creators of the show, and he also seems to be the one in charge of performing the actual musical numbers on the show, as they featured puppets that belonged to Peter and the Lovettes team, with these segments interestingly being credited to an unknown man named Peter Pioneer.
We have a beautiful song from Peter Pioneer.
It's not a concrete link, but it's clear that Peter Puppet had a role in the show's creation, and helped push the family's disturbed ideology onto hundreds of kids across the globe. But during the creation of Life with Grandpa, it seems his own beliefs were being tested. In the beginning of the video, we saw an example of the family's view on doctors.
Surely a doctor would have stitched it, but our God is still a God of miracles. Praise the Lord.
This sentiment was really common in the family, as Berg outright forbade any medicine or surgeries of any kind, instead preaching that miracles from God were the only way to heal. And because of this, many members of the family with chronic ailments or fatal illnesses were basically left to die, and one of those left suffering was Peter Puppet. His life is almost entirely a mystery, as he lived in hiding in one of the family's compounds, but according to some of the group's members...
This shit is terrifying. Look at this nigga in the back, bro. Is he supposed to be black? Dude, this shit is creepy as fuck, man. This nigga loving it. Like,
one day, he noticed something in his neck, a small lump, and over the next few weeks and months, it began to slowly get bigger and bigger, to the point that Peter had to go visit a doctor in order to see what was wrong. And it was there he learned that inside of him was an aggressive tumor that was only going to get larger. The good news was the tumor was actually operable and could be removed with little risk to his life, but the bad news was surgeries were against the family's beliefs, and so he turned it down, instead opting to go back to the compound to pray the tumor away with the other members. This, however, never happened. Instead, the mass began to grow at an even faster rate, to the point that those around him could notice it, eventually leading to Peter hiding away in his room away from the others, not wanting to be seen. However, at some point during a struggle, a photograph was taken, showing the entire compound he was living with. And in the background, we see
it, yeah.
Peter, whose neck is impossibly large. From here, it said that Peter began to beg the family to take him to get the surgery, as the tumor was quite literally suffocating him slowly, turning him against the very beliefs that he once forced upon so many children over the years. But the family forbade it, insisting that he wait for a miracle that was never going to come. With nowhere else to turn, Peter Puppet supposedly ended his own life shortly after this photograph was taken, adding the final pillar of context to Life with Grandpa, a program that can only be described as the darkest children's show ever created.
We've got to go now. Let's wave bye-bye.
Niggas only care about shit when it happens to them. When niggas get hit with some shit, now it's oh shit, they can take me to a doctor. Crazy.
Driven by hunger and filled with fear.
Yeah, alright, I think we've seen enough of this bullshit. What the fuck? That's actually ridiculous. That gotta be one of the... That's ridiculous. And like we've heard about this quote, but I didn't know how deep it went. Like, holy shit, bro.